everybody, I'm Caitlin Classing and I'm back with the second vlog for Nonpareil SPF, aka Pearl, owned and bred by Tracy Geller of 6 Pound Farm. And we're going to talk through mostly her training, how that's going this vlog, and talk a lot about the differences between training a 4-year-old and training a 5-year-old. And she has done a young event horse qualifier and she is qualified for the championships in the fall, so we'll wrap the vlog up by talking to her owner and breeder Tracy, get some clips from a lesson we were able to take recently, and some plans for the fall, and looking forward to the championships. So this is the first year that the Futurity has held a 5-year-old division, and I think it's worth noting the pretty stark differences between the horses' 4-year-old year and their 5-year-old year. In their 4-year-old year, you're going to see the most sort of tangible gains in their training. Horses are going from being lightly backed or maybe not even backed when they're 4 to all of a sudden you're sitting on them, you're steering, you're stopping, you're going, you're jumping your first jump, you're going to your first competition, and everything that you do, if they do it even remotely well, you sort of throw the horse a party. And then you get into the 5-year-old year and things get a little bit more nuanced. And if you watched any of my vlogs from last year, I talked a lot about the importance of teaching the horses the aids and how we teach the horse by knowing that they respond not to pressure but to release of pressure. And at 4, that release point is really close to the surface. So if you put your leg on and the horse goes remotely forward, the pressure goes away and you throw them a party, and then so on. The 4-year-old year is very much just about, can you adapt to these new aids but in a really basic way. And then all of a sudden in the 5-year-old year, the pressure and release points become a little bit more vague and a little bit harder to find sometimes. And I think that's really where we get into the meat of training the horses and teaching them about working for a living, really. And so the aids become a little bit less like teaching them their ABCs and a little bit more like using a stovetop to boil pasta is the best analogy that I came up with. And in case you're wondering, yes, I can screw up boiling pasta, but hopefully I'm a better horse trainer than I am cook. But I think it's a little bit, you put pressure on and you want to leave it on long enough that you get the horse soft and you get the horse supple and through their body. But you don't want to leave it on so long that you have, a bowl of mush and you sort of fry the horse's brain, push them past what they're physically ready for. And at the same time, you don't want to keep riding them like they're 4-year-olds and leave them, stiff and firm and not really understanding that part of the job is to let the rider access their body and access their athleticism. So the question that we ask really becomes less, do you understand these aids, and more, what can we do with the aids? We're sort of acting on the assumption that they do understand the aids, and that's the foundation that we hopefully built for them in their 4-year-old year. And now we're using those aids to really get into the meat of what the rest of their career is going to look like. And that doesn't mean that in their 5-year-old year they're doing what they're going to be doing in their 15-year-old year, but it does mean that you're going from expecting really basic responses to the aids to starting to expect those basic responses to be layered in a way that allows us to gain access to the horse's body, mind, and full athletic ability. So we've seen some clips of Pearl schooling at home, as well as some clips of her most recent competition outings. And hopefully that's sort of giving visual to the points that I'm trying to make. And another way of saying it would be that in their 5-year-old year, it's less important what they're doing and more important how they're doing it. And I think you can see that Pearl's doing it all pretty well. We've been pretty pleased with her. So let's go ahead and hear from her owner and breeder, Tracy Geller, and talk a little bit about some of the lessons we were able to take recently and what we're looking forward to the rest of this fall. Okay, so I'm here with Tracy, who owner and breeder of the lovely Pearl, and I've ridden 2 days of lessons with Eric Duvander, and you got to see your girl go. What did you make of it?
I think she's doing great.
Yeah.
Really proud of her, and it was was I think a great lesson for her both days. She
Yeah.
definitely improved over the second day.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that the proper foundation. You're starting with the flat work, and then you're building onto the jumping with that, and taking those principles and into your jumping later on. So
Yeah.
definitely.
Now we love working with Eric for that reason, because the foundation has to be really solid before you move on. And it's the same with the older horses as it is with Pearl, who's 5. But I think we were talking last night too about 5 being a hard year for the horses as they go from being happy with just go, stop, steer as 4-year-olds to now you're really getting into
the meat of it.
Yes, the meat of it. But
work.
Pearl's taking it on. She's taking it on very well.
Yeah, I think
very
so.
admirably.
Yeah.
So she's now qualified for the championships in the fall.
Yep.
And I think we're looking forward to possibly move up to training. I think she would be ready for that.
If that's what you think. Yep.
We will see one day at a time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think that's horses in general,
That's
not just young horses. That's all horses. But I've been really happy with how she's going, and
Good.
hopefully
I'm
she can
happy.
keep building on the lessons that we had here
Perfect.
this week.
Well, thank you for everything.
Yeah, thanks so much
Wonderful
for coming
to come
out.
up and see everybody, and it's very cool.
Good. Well, we're glad to have you. And we'll keep everybody posted as we keep going with Pearl, and look forward to seeing you at the championships in October.